Man, as it felt like a very long time, but it's so nice to be back in the saddle again. Happy Thursday, guys, and welcome into the stream. For the next hour, we're going to be placing a lot of bets, arbitrage, positive EV, a little DFS, prize picks, underdog, really focusing on the Thursday night football game. But welcome in. My name is Billy Collins. I've been MIA sick for the last 3+ days. Started on Sunday morning after around the live stream on Sunday morning. And it's totally wiped me out for the last couple of days, and I'm finally feeling a little bit like myself again. So it's really nice to be with you guys as we're going to be looking to take advantage of some bets on the Dolphins-Bills Thursday night game. So let me go ahead and just jump in. We're going to get started with DGF's AI slip generator. And the idea behind this stream is that you're going to be able to learn the different strategies that I like to employ to make money sports betting so that you can copy and paste this for yourself and start making money on your own. So what's going on, Elwin? Great, Dom. What's going on? Anton, appreciate it, man. Recrap. Yeah, man, just a lot of congestion. Really came out of nowhere. But I felt it Sunday morning on the stream, and then it just, by Sunday night, I was just like totally wiped out. So, I would just say it was a lot of cold symptoms, but it's good to be back. And I really appreciate the kind words, guys. But it's just nice to be back sports betting. And hopefully you guys have been having a solid week as we are starting to wind down the Major League Baseball season. We are in the WNBA playoffs, first round. Looks like we got some Dabble value at the moment. So if you guys want to cook up some 3-pick slips on Dabble, looks like we have a couple of slips to showcase here. Bracken, Tyler, Matt, what's going on? Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Trent. Big Slim, yeah, I haven't been outside too much. The heat's still here in AZ, but it's starting to come down a little bit. It's like 94 degrees today, which, with low humidity is actually pretty nice. Been used to like 105, 110. So to get like a 94 degree day is really nice. And then actually next weekend, I will be back home in Pittsburgh, which will be very exciting. So my streams next weekend, especially on Saturday and Sunday, they'll be in Pittsburgh for sure. Not sure about next weekend Sunday stream because the Steelers do play at 9:30 Eastern. But we'll still look to, I don't really want to miss the Steeler game, but they're playing the Vikings in Ireland. All right, so here's a 3-pick slip on Dabble, 6-pick slip over on Rebet Prop City. If I sound still a little congested, guys, it's because I'm not quite all the way back from massive congestion and sinus pressure, but I'm definitely feeling well enough to give enough energy for an hour to kind of talk about sports betting. We do have some different promos that you guys want to make sure that you're hopping on. FanDuel's offering a couple of really good ones. Make sure you opt into the $2 million touchdown jackpot. I'm looking at that right now, where you can place a bet on anytime TD. First or last touchdown. Typically, I'm more of a first touchdown type of guy. We'll take a look to see if we can find any best odds for that type of promo. And then also, we have some different choose your own rewards as well that you're going to want to take a look at with FanDuel. And this is kind of really how, you can take these little $5 bonus bets and turn them into something awesome. This is a 6-pick entry on PrizePicks. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this. Looks like this Lacy play bumped, so I'm not going to take this at 87.5. So all I'm going to do is just remove the Lacy play, and then I'm just going to play this as a 5-pick slip. Pretty simple. It's still going to be a 5-pick flex entry. I'll accept that. Let's go. You also have this Mahomes play as well, guys. Make sure you take advantage of the Mahomes play if you want to. We'll share this. We'll copy this and throw this over in the chat. All right, there we go. 23%. I'm not really sure if the Mayfield play's been up there for a while. Then it's good to know that maybe it's a little dead. If you were looking to throw this Mahomes play, like if we wanted to specifically look for PrizePicks, right? If we come over here to PrizePicks, and maybe you're not interested in taking your free square and putting it on a 5 or 6-pick entry, what I would advise doing then is taking this 3-pick entry right here. Okay, that's a really solid play. And then just removing one of these plays, right? The Charlotte play, Mason, he plays today under 3.5. We do have one college football game, American Football Conference, Charlotte and Rice. So if you wanted to here, we could look for all 3 of these lines and see maybe which one's off. Or you could just pick one and take it, right? So if we were to quickly scan for this, okay? So if we're looking at Oklahoma State and Tulsa, so I'll remove my arbitrage screen. Because this is another way, guys, that you can kind of look at this and say, what should we do here, right? We're looking at the over 205.5 passing yards. So if we're looking at player props for passing yards, where are we at? Looking at player prop markets, not period markets, Billy, for Christ's sake, buddy, get it together. Player passing yards. So we're looking at over 205.5. And as you can see, FanDuel has this at minus 114 odds. We're getting this at minus, 122 on a 3-pick entry, right? So, okay, but a lot of these other books, obviously with college props, guys, you're going to see this all over the place. 215, 217.5. But at 205.5, that's okay, but it's not. I would prefer to see FanDuel at like 214.5. So that might be one we consider giving the boot. Mason under 3.5 receptions. Looking at Rice, looking at Charlotte, that's the wrong game. Picked the wrong one. So if we're looking at the under 3.5 receptions, let's come down here and take a look at this. Player receptions. And again, this is how I would normally go about it. I understand that, time is of the essence. Maybe not everyone's interested in going through this, but this would literally be the process. If I could find player receptions, just bear with me. We'll get there. So we're looking at EJ Mason. And so we're saying, okay, the under 3.5 at minus 119. Again, this is at minus 122 odds on a 3-pick slip. Not that great compared to FanDuel. And out of all of these sports books, I would deem FanDuel the sharpest out of them all, right? So I'm not not feeling awesome about that. Let's take a look at Retzlaff under 251 on the Tulane game. And what we're looking to do is basically take our free square and turn this into really just a 2-pick entry. So let's look at player passing yards. So Retzlaff at, we're getting him at what? The under, this is what? Passing and rushing yards. Pardon me. Passing and rushing yards. There we go. So 251.5 is, we could take the under here. I'd rather take the under on this. But again, FanDuel's got this fairly similarly priced, right? So probably my least favorite out of all of these is probably the Flores play, okay? So then we would just add the Patty Mahomes play right here. And that's going to make this now a pretty simple 3-pick power entry where we can just go in, grab this, and make this. We just got to hit 2 slips, right? We got to hit 2 plays, and that's how we're going to use kind of our free square. If you disagree with any of my plays there, feel free to mix and match however you prefer. But the idea is now we're just really making this a 2-pick slip. So I'll throw this in there as well. All right, so there we go. So let's jump over. So outside of PrizePicks, let's take a look at some others. We'll go everybody but PrizePicks here at the moment. So we talked about some Dabble entries. If you want to grab the Freiermuth, Daniel Jones, Matt Stafford play, you could do that as well. And nice. It's always this way. It's whenever I kind of have a hiatus, always appreciate the following coming back. We have a lot of Dabble value coming back in strong force. So I'll showcase these 2 different plays over on Dabble. Again, guys, we don't know where the value is going to show up on any given day with what sportsbook and what plays. So that's why the more sportsbooks that you have available to you, the more profitable opportunities are there at your fingertips. So these would be 2 separate 3-leg plays with these 3-leg entries, right? We're seeing 10.5%, almost 12% EV edge. I would still put a max of a half of a unit on this play. You're going to run into less variance with 3-pick entries compared to 5 or 6-pick entries. So I would be willing to put up to a half unit on these 3-pick entries. But remember, these are still 3-leg parlays. So there's no guarantee that any of these will hit because we need a lot of things to happen for us. Playing these over the course of the long run will make us profitable. But if we play, if you're someone that put together 5 or 7 of these slips and lost them all, that can happen. Easily can happen when you're playing 3-pick slips, right? If you win 4 out of 20 of these slips, you're going to be in decent shape, right? But you could have a stretch where you lose 6 or 7 in a row and then win 3 of your next 4. So remember, all of these are some type of parlay based. If you want to see even less variance, play this 2-pick entry over here on Dabble. 2-pick slip also on Rebet Prop City. Again, I like to give these little certain different spot checks. With Prop City, guys, we can use Props Builder, some of the global sports books like Bovada, BetOnline. We can play collegiate player props. So if I'm looking at CJ Stokes over 26.5 rushing yards in this Rice game today, and we're taking a look to see, is this actually a good play? Because I like to spot check this from time to time. So if we're looking at the rushing, where the hell's the rushing yards at? Bingo. And so we're looking at Stokes over 26.5 rushing yards. If I scroll down here, and I'll move my head down just a little bit so it's a little easier to see, you can see this is going to be the easiest line out of all of them to hit. So we don't see any official stats or any odds posted from Pinnacle, Bookmaker, or FanDuel. So that already for me is like a red flag, right? Prop Spotters giving this at minus 114 odds. Bovada's similarly. But then we have other sports books. You know, ProfitX has $2,000 on this dude's under, which is very concerning, right? Because as we know, so this is like one way that I would say, you know what? I don't know how I feel about this. Obviously, we're looking to bet the over, not the under, but someone's willing to put $2,000 on the under, meaning they want the over $2,000 at minus 111, right? The opposite of this is that somebody really wants to bet the over for $2,000. So in this case, we would have a lot of confidence because someone is offering the under at such an incredible price. They're saying this. And so the idea here is that collegiate player props, guys, not a very liquid market. You can't bet $500 to $1,000 on collegiate player props. So if someone has $2,000 that they're allowing you to bet on the under, that means they have a lot of confidence on the over. For myself, again, just my opinion, I would be willing to bet this over on CJ Stokes just based off of this ProfitX. We don't have any other sharp sports books to really glean into as a reference point, but the fact that there's such massive liquidity on an under that's being available to the public means that whoever's betting this over really likes it. Now, it could be a rich dude that just has some money and he's maybe a devout supporter of either Rice or Charlotte, but I would say that I would like to take the Stokes on the over. Now, Achane under on his receiving yards, this is where we're going to be able to have more books that are going to provide more data points on this play because this is the NFL. So if we come down here to Achane, and I'm taking... Sometimes, guys, I feel that I gloss over these plays a little quickly, and I definitely want to make sure that I'm taking the time to explaining maybe why we like these plays. So we're being recommended to bet the under 43.5 on Achane. Well, a sharp book like Bookmaker has this under as a slight underdog at under 39.5. FanDuel is finally offering a two-way market, 50-50, right? Under 41.5. We're getting 2 extra yards. Now, Achane's got the juice, guys. He could take one to the house with one catch. But we can get this. Now, Circa's at under 43.5. That's where we're getting this over at Props Builder. So for myself at minus 108, it's not that good of a price to Circa, but to everywhere else, especially Pinnacle and especially Bookmaker and especially FanDuel, I am okay with throwing down a 2-leg parlay over here on these two guys. So what I would just simply go do is log on over to, I'm going to go over to probably Bet Online, and I'm just going to log in over there, and I'm going to throw a little 2-leg parlay for a half of a unit on that play. We're going to hit the refresh button once more. Before we jump over to look at like DraftKings Pick6, we got a 5-pick entry over here on Better. I can hit that play up on Better, so let me move this off to the side. We got a lot going on. And we're going to make sure we look at some arbitrage plays and kind of go from there. So any questions, obviously, feel free to ask. For my OGs and DGens that are, supporters, if you want to see the stream go in a certain direction, just ask, right? Zach on the EV screen. Yeah, I can add PrizePicks in on the EV screen if you're looking to see what solid plays are. So let's look at Benford here. So I'm just going to go ahead and create this 5-pick slip off to the side for Better and then share the link with you guys. We're looking at the over 4.5 tackles and assists. And then we're looking for Tua. We're looking at his over 23.5 passing completions. Obviously, the Dolphins guys are roughly around a 12.5, 13.5 point underdog. So want to hear your thoughts on, let me put the poll up right now. Do the Dolphins cover the spread? Would love to hear from you guys if you think the Dolphins cover the spread tonight. Interested to see what you guys think about that. Sam Darnold over 29.5 passing attempts. All right, and then what else do we got? We got one baseball play too, but we got Brandon Cooks. Dude, I got to take an over on Brandon Cooks. The guy's been doing it for a long time. It's just like not ideal. And then Logan Webb, I never mind taking Logan Webb over on his strikeouts. Big matchup tonight between the Dodgers and the Giants. There's only a couple of baseball games going on tonight, but this is probably the biggest one as we are almost entering the final week of the Major League Baseball season. All right, so there's that 5-pick entry. I'll share that with you guys. Get the link, drop that in there. There we go. There's the 5-pick on Better. And then I really want to look for just some underdog value really quick to see if there's any underdog value. 6-pick entry. Okay, this 3-pick entry doesn't have that much value. I will showcase this 6-pick entry here, guys, for anyone that wants to grab this. I'm going to hop over here to Bet Online, log in right now, and grab this 2-leg parlay for Achane under and then Stokes over. All right, tomorrow, just kind of giving heads up, we will do one stream tomorrow as I'm kind of getting back from being sick. Probably do an afternoon stream. I'll throw a poll up a little bit later to find out what's an optimal time for you guys. Saturday and Sunday, we will be doing streams at 11 a.m. Eastern for college football and the NFL, which I'm pumped up about that because we're already going to be in week 4 of college football, which it's already breaking my heart. I don't want to be if anyone listens to Pardon My Take, I feel like I sound like Big Cat just talking about how a quarter of the football season's already over. I just love football so much. I never wanted to go anywhere. And so I'm hoping it can stay as long as possible. All right, so this 2-leg parlay over here is going to be a plus 263 odds. And I'm going to throw $100 on this bad boy. And so I'm throwing this over on Bet Online. And there we go. So I'm just going to take a little screenshot of this so you guys can see that I put my money where my mouth is. So Achane under, Stokes over. Put $100 on this, plus 263 odds. That's going to be that props builder 2-leg parlay that we were talking about earlier. Okay, so there's that. Let's jump over to the optimizer. Let's take a look at DraftKings Pick6. We're going to start off with 3-pick entries using OddsJam's optimizer. Again, if you guys don't want to see this off to the side, just click this. Gives yourself a little bit more room. And let me put myself up in the very top. And so we're looking at 3-pick entries with no insurance. Those are the best odds. So when you see minus 122, that's per play. So each individual play that you're putting on a 3-man entry, you're getting it priced at minus 122 odds. If you only want to play 2-mans with no insurance, then you're getting it at minus 137 per play. That's all based off of your payout, guys, right? So this isn't some made-up numbers that OddsJam just kind of grabbed out of thin air. It's the actual fact of what you're getting paid out from DraftKings, depending on the type of slip that you're playing, depending if you're taking insurance or no insurance. So 3-pick entries with no insurance are the most optimal. The next best for your odds are 6-man entries with no insurance. But as I mentioned before, the difference in variance, meaning how many slips you can win in a row or just kind of the bumpy ride. Think of this like I'm going to be 37 next Wednesday, guys, so bear with me. The Perfect Storm, George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, John C. Reilly, incredible movie. That's the perfect storm. Riding 6-leg entries is like you on that little ass boat when the perfect storm is going on. That's what the variance is like. You're basically losing your lunch within the first 60 seconds because you're like, dude, I can't handle this ride. It's insane. Even if you're finding plays that have an edge and putting together solid slips at 6-man entries with no insurance, the variance is insane. While you will end up profitable, and on the other end of that storm, calm skies and seas, you're still going to have a tough go of it. 3-man entries and 2-man entries are not going to be nearly as choppy. Right? It's like the shallow end of the pool. It's safe. It's a little bit safer. It's a little bit easier. You'll still run into losing streaks, but they won't be as bad. So Patterson, under 6.5 kicking points. FanDuel's got this at 5.5 at minus 118. So to get an extra point and only have to pay an extra 4 cents in price is something that I'm really in on because it's such a big deal getting the under 6.5 compared to 5.5, right? If the Dolphins lay an egg tonight and Patterson kicks 2 field goals, we're glad that we got this under 6.5 at DraftKings compared to FanDuel. But again, we have to play NFL slips. So the over on Cam Ward on his passing attempts, over 30.5 at minus 122. This is 8 cents off to FanDuel, but FanDuel has this at 31.5. Pinnacle is at minus 105 at 31.5. So a little bit of a different price discrepancy here between Pinnacle and FanDuel. So I'm kind of tepid on the Cam Warren play. It's okay. It's not like incredible, right? But we can look for some other incredible plays. Same thing here with Trevor Lawrence. So as I come down here, maybe with Tyrod Taylor, we could see that we're getting the under 28.5. This is good to FanDuel. Unfortunately, Pinnacle doesn't have any odds for this play. So let me see if there's a play that I'm really bullish on. Danny Jones. I don't mind the Danny Jones play to not throw a pick against the Titans. Dude's been fuego the first 2 weeks. Now he goes on the road. This is 13 cents off to FanDuel. That's okay. But it's 21 cents off to Pinnacle. So I like the Danny Jones play. So I'd go with Danny Jones. I'd go with Riley Patterson. And again, if you're betting a lot of overs on this Dolphins game, then maybe the Riley Patterson play is not something you're going to be crazy about. The other play, let's see, Theo. So Theo, compared to FanDuel, this is an incredible price. So I would take the Theo Johnson play under 2.5 receptions. That's where maybe I would start off, and this would be my 3-leg entry on DraftKings Pick6. A lot of unders, right? So Patterson, Danny Jones, and then Theo Johnson. Again, down here at the bottom, you can add this to your parlay. Okay, so let's take a look at we already looked at quite a bit of Dabble earlier. Let's look at Owner's Box for a second. Anyone that's playing Owner's Box, we'll take a look at that. Oh, Rambo, I totally forgot, dude. All right, so then I would say and you can't pair Theo either. I do this every time because I always forget about this. So for that DraftKings Pick6, then that slips basically. That was a waste of time because you can't pair the Thursday night or the Monday night game together. So, yeah, then I wouldn't make a slip. I wouldn't make a slip right now for the game tonight. That's what I would say. Anton, yes. I think BetOnline is definitely worth the headache of crypto. BetOnline has an incredible promotion system for those of you that kind of rise through the ranks of their VIP rewards. I consistently receive somewhere between $10 to $30 a month in bonus funds from BetOnline just from using their sportsbook. I'm a platinum member. Some guys, if you're definitely like a gold member or above, I feel it's very well worth it. They're also a sportsbook that while you might get limited on props builder from them, they'll never limit you on their mainline plays. And so BetOnline has been one of my best friends in terms of a sports book for the last 4 years. Just pay attention to this one. I've used the same account on BetOnline for 4 years. Same with Bookmaker. So that's why they're my best friends for life, because they just treat me really, really well. Let's take a look at Fliff for a second too. Let's throw in like 3 minimum data points and see what we got. So no Pinnacle odds. Okay. Malik Washington. Okay. It's a good question to ask, Tom, but I mean, I just think they're very valuable with their props builder. And then, you can find some good arbitrage opportunities with BetOnline as well. It's not like you got to place a bunch of straight bets over there, but they're incredibly useful as an arbitrage book. So, and if you, and I understand if you're new to crypto or you don't want to have to deal with setting up a crypto account, if you want to get into offshore sports books, that's the game you have to play. You could use your credit card. You could wire funds over. I'm a crypto guy, so I've used them. I'm not like a crypto guy telling you what to buy, but I mean, I've bought into using crypto as a mechanism to make transfers in and out of sports books with the offshore books. So, if you want to untap a whole new world of sports books and profitable opportunities like Bovada and Bookmaker and BetOnline, then crypto is going to be the quickest way for sure. You'll get used to it, right? But I understand if some of you don't want to jump into that pool, that's okay. But otherwise, I would say, get into it for sure. Let's take a look at some ARBs right now and see what we got going on. So at the moment here, guys, we'll kind of go through my ARB setup, what I'm focused on. You can use OddsJam's recommended book weights. We're looking at pre-match, right? Games haven't started yet. So these are all the opportunities that we're looking before the games start, first pitch, kickoff, tip, whatever the case is. Sometimes I also really like to use Pinnacle as my sharp sports book, because if there's any recreational books that are ARBs to Pinnacle, I want to place the bets on those recreational books, right? Minimum, maximum odds, I don't pay attention. I don't set this up at all because I don't care. I'm day trading the sports books. So I don't really care what the odds range is. Now, the percentage is going to come down to you. What's it worth for your time? For pre-match, I would set this to a maximum of 10%. Anything that's above a 10% return on your investment that's a pre-match ARB, the sportsbook most likely made a mistake. You don't want to punish the sportsbook for that because they will punish you with limits or just saying, hey, you can't bet on here anymore. Take your money and get out of here. DVIG settings, we talked about that. Leagues, I'll set this all up. For my markets, I like to go after main markets and player props. Normally, alternative markets, they will provide more opportunities. The liquidity in these alternative markets are not very abundant, so there's not a lot of money in these markets. Also, not many people are, not many casual sports bettors are betting third quarter point spreads on the Bills-Dolphins when the game hasn't even started yet, right? So the problem with alternate markets is that it's going to tell you to bet on the fourth quarter of the Fever basketball game tonight. It's going to tell you to bet it right now. How many people are betting a women's basketball fourth quarter point spread before the game's even started? I don't know about you, but nobody that I know. So I don't want to bet into those types of markets because it just raises suspicion. It's kind of like the trader working at the desk saying, why is, Joe Blow betting $40 on an plus 260 on the Fever minus 7.5 fourth quarter point spread? Makes no sense. Nobody does that. So while there's more opportunities with alternate markets, it's just not a market that I want to wager into. So as you can see at the moment right now, for today, there isn't a ton of really profitable opportunities. And that's just going to depend on what's going on. There's 4 baseball games going on tonight. There's 1 NFL game. There's 1 college football game. So there isn't a ton. Now you can see SportsZeno popping up on my screen a ton. If you don't have SportsZeno, then naturally there's not going to be as many opportunities for you. So if I click select all, and as you're going to see here, if I just deselect SportsZeno, we have 100 results. SportsZeno makes up, well, not that many, actually. That was interesting. I thought they would have. So here's an example. Player touchdowns. Connor Harrell. This is an ARB to Pinnacle, right? When the plus odds number is larger than the minus odds number, that means that the market's crossed. That's a green light indicator that we want to make a bet on a book. And in this case, it's going to be Fliff. Fliff, though, it looks like just made a massive error over here, okay? Because all the other sports books have this roughly priced in at plus 146. Fliff has this at plus 235. So you could go ahead and bet this over at Fliff. In my opinion, this is a mistake by Fliff. So, but this would be an example of where you'd want to make a wager just over at Fliff, and that's it. But like Tanner Connor, if you can bet player receptions between Hard Rock and FanDuel, anytime you have plus odds on the over and the under, you can day trade these sports books to make a profit. Now, for some of you, you might look at this and say, Billy, this is under 2% of a return on my investment. Not worth my time. No problem, dude. Just don't bet it. But for some of you that are like, yeah, dude, like I want to grind this out. Like I'm limited on Hard Rock, but I'll still take this. Then go ahead and bet this. Now, I would advise that you keep your wager size under $250 on one side. What do I mean by that? Bet $240 on Hard Rock, bet $230 over on FanDuel, or keep it under $200, right? All of these sports books, guys, they have some type of limits, right? You can't bet $1 billion on Hard Rock. It's just not going to happen. They won't accept that wager size. All of these sports books at some point have a ceiling, okay? And with player props, the ceiling is lower compared to moneyline spreads and totals. You can bet way more on the moneyline play on the Dolphins-Bills compared to Tanner Connor over-under on his receptions. So keep your wager sizes under $250 or under $200. Because if you go above and beyond that, then the bet's going to be submitted to trader review. And that means a human being over at Hard Rock is going to have to review this and say, okay, well, John Smith here wants to bet, I don't know, $600 on Tanner Connor's over 1.5 receptions. Let's look at his betting history. What is John Smith like to bet? Oh, okay, I've seen that he's getting a lot of good closing line value on us. You know what? And he's betting some really weird stuff like the Fever minus 7.5 fourth quarter point spread. You know what? Let's limit this guy's bet size down to $30. Okay. So some of these sports books, when you submit large wagers, the bet automatically gets pushed through to trader review. I'm talking to you, Bet365. So be careful with some of these markets. Not all markets are created equal. So a lot of these are player props. A little different story here with the Orioles and the Yankees, right? If you have Polymarket and BetDSI, right? This is a market you can wager a lot of money on. Why? Pinnacle's taken $10,000 on this market. So while this is only a 1.5% return on your investment, you can wager a boatload of money, right? You can wager a ton of money here. So you can get a lot of money down. And while your return's not that high, you can make it a higher return because you can wager more money. So keep this in mind with certain sports books. This is a mainline market, Orioles, Yankees run line. This is where you can wager a lot of money. Or if you're working through a rollover with BetDSI, this is the perfect opportunity, right, to work through that rollover because they'll accept this wager. They'll accept a run line play. And you can put down a lot of money. So if you put down $1,000 as your first deposit on BetDSI and they gave you, I don't know, $500 or $750 on cash on top of that, and you have to work through that rollover, this would be a play that I would nuke over at BetDSI because you're going to be able to work through a lot of your balance on that sports book, and this is going to be a play that they will accept. So anyways, I'm obviously pretty fired up, but that's just kind of some different ARBs. So to be honest, guys, the ARBs at the moment, they're not very sexy. They're not great. ProfitX. If you were going to go after this play on this girl's name, right, there's only $200 over here on ProfitX. So you would want to go over to ProfitX right now and lock that side in first. Even though that Caesars might be a little bit more EV here, this money, it's already down to $35. It's not going to be there forever. So on these exchanges, if there was $2,000 on this under at ProfitX, you have a little bit more time. But at $200, you have to strike right now over at ProfitX. So understanding your sports books, what type of books they are, what type of liquidity they select, this is kind of all encompassed within arbitrage betting. And if you're new to this, I'm not trying to overwhelm you. It's taken me 4 years to learn this, right? It takes time. And so talking to people here in the chat are going to help you elevate and level up your game because everybody here has been through it before. I can guarantee you probably 99%. That's actually the next poll that I want to put up. A lot of people don't think 53% say the Dolphins, 55% say the Dolphins aren't going to hit the spread, cover the spread. Interesting. Very interesting. I want to know if you've been limited by 5 sports books or more. I want to hear if it's a yes or a no. So everyone in the chat here, I've never asked this question before. All right, new poll question right now. I want to know from you guys, for everyone that's here in the chat, have you been limited by 5 books or more? Okay. Would love to hear that from the audience to find out how many people have or haven't. All right, so let's take a look at some Dolphins-Bills plays right now. DVig, we're going to kind of bounce around. New video, guys, coming out on OddsJam today, I believe, maybe this evening. And it talks, I do a deep dive into all the DVig methods. So it talks about all the different DVig methods, when you should use them, when you shouldn't use them, what's the best, all that stuff. So keep your eyes open on the OddsJam YouTube page because it's a video that I made talking about the different, not just other things outside the DVig methods, but a lot of you guys have been asking for like a DVig video, and there was definitely a significant portion of the video that discusses all the DVig methods. So take a look at that. Let's see what we got going on. Ken, what's going on? Orty, how are you, man? There we go. So 55% think the Dolphins won't cover the plus 12.5. 12.5 is 13 is a good number. So if you can get the Bills at minus 12.5, I definitely like that. Let's look at NFL. And then let's look at some markets here. We're just going to look outside of alternate markets. Minimum, maximum odds. Let's take a look at like a minus 200. Let's go to like a plus 150. DVig is basically just removing, all sportsbooks charge a VIG into their odds. That's how sportsbooks make money. So removing the VIG from the odds is DVigging so that you can find out what the fair odds are. So basically another way to say this is when you go to a grocery store and you see the price for a loaf of bread, you know that loaf of bread that price is slightly inflated because the store has to pay the bills, keep the lights on, pay their employees. They have to make a profit off of each loaf of bread that they sell. So you automatically know when you're at the store that when you're buying an item, that price that you see is slightly inflated. So if we were to remove that inflation to find out what the fair price of that loaf of bread is, that's basically DVigging with sportsbooks. All right, let's see what we got going on. Date range. Sorry, I just want to make sure I answer everyone's questions because everyone here is different on their sports betting journey, right? Some people have been doing this for a long time. Some haven't. I want to make sure that we kind of showcase what we got, everything and all. So let's take a look here. Khalil Shakir. All right, let's look at Achan first. So this is going to be any Canby sportsbook for the most part. If you guys found any value thus far in the streams, make sure to smash the subscribe button. I ordered the balloons, guys, for the 7.5K day. When we hit 7,500 subscribers, that next stream, once we hit the number, the next stream, I'm giving away $75 to 7 people on the stream. You're eligible to win one time. If you have Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, you're eligible to win. So subscribe to the channel if you want to be in on that. It's going to be a trivia style type of stream. It's just me saying thank you to you guys. So we're getting pretty close. I think we're like 120 away from hitting that. And I like to celebrate the small wins with you guys because it's something that I never thought I would be at. And I'm very excited. Very, very excited. So here is an example of an ARB to Pinnacle. We're looking at Achan over on his rushing attempts. Pinnacle sees this under at plus 116 odds. So what have we talked about with arbitrage? When the plus odds number is larger than the minus odds number, the market is crossed. This is a green light indicator that one book screwed up. Okay, one book did. So when you jump in here to Pinnacle using the Platinum plan, they're the purple line. What can you notice within the last, hour or so? If I zoom in just a little bit here, you can see Pinnacle's moving in a slowly lower direction. They're going from a minus 125 down to minus 141. So Pinnacle's receiving money and a lot of action on their side. So Pinnacle's receiving a lot of money on Achan over 12.5 rushing attempts. That's pushing their price to be an even more expensive price. So if you were betting this earlier at minus 123, you'd have to put up $123 on Pinnacle to make $100. Now you have to put up $141 to make that same $100. So the price is now more expensive over at Pinnacle. Well, good old Ballybet here, they did move a couple hours ago from plus 107 to minus 110, but they're chilling. So if you have a Bet Rivers or a Desert Diamond or Bet Parks or a Sugar House or Ballybet, you'd want to go bet this right now with Achan, because this is a really good play. This is 31 cents off in price. What's the difference between 141 and 110? 31. Anything that's 20 cents or larger in difference, that's a green light on player props. This is 31, meets the criteria. Go bet it over at Canby. So that would be my first play. This looks to be a great play. I bet Khalil, if we're looking at Josh Allen, this is $124. So there's not a lot of money here on Josh Allen over on his passing completions. Now, this doesn't look very good to Bookmaker. It looks very good to Pinnacle and to FanDuel. But again, with the Platinum plan, guys, this is where you can get a lot of great insight betting player props. Use code Billy35. You're going to get a 1-week free trial. Ask the team at OddsJam for a 1-week free trial to Platinum. Tell them that I told you you can get it for free. So Pinnacle's just been chilling here. So the one book that's moved a little bit is Bookmaker, but they moved about 4 hours ago. So you're going to be able to see all this historical line movement. When you're betting player props, this is very impactful. This can really help change your decision. So I am not as bullish on this play as I was Achan. Why? Because Pinnacle and FanDuel aren't moving at all. And it doesn't mean that they're stale. It just means that they might be very confident in their line. But the problem here is that I don't really know what to trust. Now, ProfitX isn't offering a lot of money here. $124 is not a lot. But this seems to be a really good price for a low amount of liquidity. So I would still be willing to go over and bet this over on Allen. Now, Khalil Shakir, I bet this a little bit earlier. I didn't have a lot of money in my FanDuel account. Over 42.5 receiving yards and minus 112. It's now at minus 111. You can get this over at FanDuel as well. Onyx, DraftKings, Pinnacle, I'm good with all of it. If we look at Pinnacle, you could see, though, within the last 2 hours, they have moved quite a bit. They were at a minus 120. Now they're at minus 131. That's 11 cents in movement, right? So now the price is more expensive on Shakir over 42.5. We can get this either at FanDuel, DraftKings, or Onyx, right? Any one of these. So let's go see what we got here. So if I am going to go log on to my Onyx account, because I don't know, and guys, if you haven't signed up with Onyx yet, I'll throw this over there. Literally, if you tail this play for $10 and you sign up with my code, you're going to get $100 in free bets. So it's a good time over at Onyx. They copy DraftKings odds. So if you're limited on DraftKings, if you're limited on DraftKings or you live in a state where DraftKings isn't available, Onyx is our guy, right? We can go over to Onyx and hit this up. So I would like to get a little bit more on Shakir over on his receiving yards, over 42.5. So OddsJam is telling me on my recommended bet filters to bet $90. I would just round this up to like $100, right? So let me go ahead and showcase this to make sure that we can still grab this. Hurry up and run. Grab this as soon as you can. The idea here, guys, is that I don't just tell you what to bet. I actually bet it myself. It moved a penny. That's fine. Let's go ahead and grab Shakir. Okay, we're in. So I like this because of the movement from Pinnacle. Now, I will say this. FanDuel is typically a sports book that I trust a lot when it comes to NBA player props. I think they're very sharp for pregame NBA player props. I go after FanDuel all the time when it comes to pregame NFL player props. All the time. No problem going after them. If we're looking at James Cook, I bet this earlier over at Fanatics for like $200. I got him at -150 for an anytime touchdown score. If you still have a decent Fanatics account, this is an incredible nuke, in my opinion. This is like a 2.5 unit play here. -145. All the books have this roughly like -180, -185. This is, to me, a very easy play to hit. This isn't one that you really have to think too much about. This is almost a low hold to Pinnacle. They are just way off compared to everybody else. I would nuke this James Cook anytime touchdown play. Over on his rushing yards. This is, if you can get odds under -112, this is the fair odds right here, guys. This column right here, this Pinnacle column, this is the fair odds. This probability and this odds, they're the same exact thing. If I told you that I had a 61.7% chance of winning this bet, that means I have odds of almost -161. If I told you I had -101.7 odds, that means I have a 50.4% chance. These are the same exact thing, tomato. So looking at James Cook over 70 rushing yards or more in this game, Pinnacle's at -126. You can get this at -105 over at Fanatics. Again, if we zoom in on this play, you could see that within the last hour or so, I mean, this was 2 hours ago. This was at -115. They're now at -126. I definitely like that. While Fanatics has moved a little bit, I don't deem Fanatics a sharp sports book at all. So I would bet this James Cook play for him to score a touchdown, for him over on his rushing yards. I love that. Shakir over on his receptions. And we can, this Dalton Kincaid play is only $5, guys. So, if you want to bet it, bet it. I'm not going to deep dive that one. If we're looking at the over 4.5 catches, again, Pinnacle and Circa are similar. The thing that worries me here is Bookmaker. Bookmaker has this at +130 odds. So this is where seeing line movement can be very impactful, right? Pinnacle hasn't done not much line movement here. Circa a little bit, right? They were at +105. They're now up to +115. Bookmaker, though, has moved the most within the last hour, and I just don't really like that. Okay, even though the liquidity is not much on this play, $88, I'm just not going to touch the over 5.5. Well, I have his over on his receiving yards, guys. Again, Shakir can have 3 catches for 47 yards and cash the over for us, right? So on his receiving yards. Allen under on his passing attempts. This is one where Pinnacle is the most bullish out of all the sports books looking at his passing attempts, right? And here, again, a little bit of movement here from Bookmaker. Not much movement from Pinnacle. I'm probably just going to stay away from this play, right? I'm really trying to find the elite plays, and looking at line movement is huge. What else do we got going on here? The main point spread. This is the main spread, by the way. Pinnacle's pretty bullish on this play at 12.5. But if we open up this event page and we take a look at some of the other point spreads, where are the other sharp books at? What you're going to notice here is that a lot of the sharp books, Bookmaker's at +11.5, but online's at +11.5. Bookmaker and Circa's at +11, guys. So this seems to be a very stale number on DraftKings. The only thing that I will say here is that +12.5, kind of a dead number. You can see that Pinnacle's taking $100,000 on this play. They're taking $100,000, guys, on the Dolphins at +12.5. So when we're talking about liquidity, okay? If Pinnacle's taking $250 on a certain market, they don't have a lot of confidence because they're not letting you wager a lot of money. Pinnacle says, guess what, bro? You want to bet the Dolphins plus 12.5? We'll take $100K on that line right now. Right now. Normally, I'm not looking to bet spreads, money lines, and totals day of the game, especially when we're talking like, what, an hour and a half before kickoff. The fact that DraftKings or Onyx, where's Onyx at? Now they're at minus 118. The fact that DraftKings is hanging this at minus 110, if this is still out there, man, I really, really, really like that. I do like that, even though that number is kind of in a bit of a dead zone, right? But that's just telling me like Pinnacle's willing to take $100K, and all the sharp books have this at plus 11. So you're getting an extra 1.5 compared to Circa. I like that. Like it a lot, right? There you go, 4 Womblies. Nice to hear that, man. Nice to hear that. Asked on the under on James Cook on his rushing attempts. Under 11.5. So obviously his rushing attempts haven't pulled up. And we can pull it up just to take a look at like his rushing attempts here, just to see what's what. What do we got? By the way, the poll, yes, we got at least 60% of people saying they've got limited by at least 5 books or more, which is interesting to hear. Let's look at the rush attempts. So James Cook under 11.5 rushing attempts. If you're looking, or under 15.5, sorry, under 15.5 rushing attempts. I mean, this is obviously a good price at better. Outside of better, that's assuming that you're playing a 5-pick slip. DraftKings has this at minus 126. Again, if you're not sure if this is good or not, what you can do is come up here and just click Show No Vig Odds, removing the VIG from the sports books. James Cook's fair line is 127 on Pinnacle and 120 on FanDuel. So if you wanted to take the average of these two books, it's going to be like 123 or 124.5, somewhere in there. So if you're getting this at 126, this has barely a small edge if you're devigging to Pinnacle. In general, I would say probably I'm going to stay away from it. But, you know, if you already, so that would be my like official play is I'm not going to play it, right? Because I'm really looking for just standout outlier plays. And that one to me is just too much of trying to find a needle in a haystack, and I don't want to mess around with it. So, and just because I like his under, maybe I lean more towards his under, doesn't mean that I don't think he can hit his over, right? My man could have 12 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown tonight, and everything could cash. So that's one where I would probably just stay away. Now, outside of Pinnacle, we can also look at Bookmaker as a sharp sports book in terms of what do they like. They like Josh Allen over on his rushing yards a lot. Now, Circa doesn't, but over at FanDuel, this is almost a low hold to Bookmaker, which is another really good indicator, right? So when we jump into this over on Josh Allen, we can see that Bookmakers moved a lot, right? Look at this within the last hour, guys. They were kind of just chilling back and forth. Then all of a sudden, Bookmaker moved, and you can't see because my head's in the way, so stay hot, Billy. You can see that they've moved in a certain direction. So that type of movement from a sharp sportsbook says, you know what, bro? I want to go bet this over at FanDuel. So that's what I'm going to go do. And we want to make sure that we're going to go check the first touchdown scores over here on FanDuel next, because we want to put ourselves eligible for that $2 million bonus bet jackpot that they got going on right now. So how much am I going to wager on this play? They're telling me to bet 140, and I have no problem betting that Josh Allen to get 30 rushing yards, okay? So over here, I could use the one-click bet feature, or I could just come down. You can see his lines at 28.5, right? Or we could just go to his alternate lines right here, alternate rushing yards, 30 yards, bingo. What's the max wager? $954, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to bet this as a straight 150. So Josh Allen to get 30 rushing yards. Sneaks count as rushing yards too, guys. So he could be sitting at 29, gets a little tush push, something like that to ice the game. You know, it's a second and 1. They need a first down to ice the game. This could easily happen, right? So we're going to take the Josh Allen play because of the movement by Bookmaker. Now, Bookmaker just adjusted their odds. So it looks like now this play isn't quite as good as it once was, but I still really like it. Tua over on his passing attempts. This is just a massive, this is insane. How's DraftKings offering plus 108 odds? Now it's plus 103. Literally, they just changed their odd. It just changed. The price just changed by 5 cents, which is a big deal. What you're going to notice here, guys, what you're going to notice here is that there's a lot of casual sports betting activity when it comes to this game. So, you want to make sure, you just type in first touchdown score. There's a lot of casual sports bettors that are starting to get interested in betting this game. So we want to take a look at what's what. I don't know why we can't see FanDuel's props here, but if you guys don't know, FanDuel's offering this bad boy right here. This is the touchdown jackpot, where you can enter to place either the first touchdown or second touchdown, first touchdown or last touchdown. Minimum $5 wager. And so what I'm going to do is just take a look at their odds. And we're just going to look at some first touchdowns. We're going to use Circa as our sharp sportsbook here to see what do we got, right? Like if we can find anything that's decent. So we'll start here with James Cook. Plus 410, not great. Josh Allen. Again, first touchdowns, 470. I don't like that. What about A-Chan? So I'm just going to kind of go player by player here to see what FanDuel has it priced at. Nope. Tyreek. 1,400. Not great. What about Keon Coleman? And the truth here, guys, is we might not find all that good of a play in terms of what we're getting offered from FanDuel. Khalil Shakir, no. None of these are very good. Jalen Waddle, 1,750. We're getting plus 1,900 over at Jalen Waddle, first-time touchdown score. He's in consideration. Finally, like the first dude where it's like kind of decent. Dalton Kincaid is actually a little better. It's at plus 1,400. So Kincaid and Waddle would be my two right now. Dawson Knox, it's the same as DraftKings. Josh Palmer, nope. Ray Davis, nope. Malik Washington, and no. Okay, so this is gonna be between Waddle and Kincaid. It just depends on who you prefer. Waddle plus 1,900, Circa has it at plus 1,750. Kincaid, we're getting a plus 1,400, and they have this at plus 1,175. I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid, first-time touchdown score. We can also throw a 50% profit boost maybe on this bad boy. What's this at? So let's do this instead. We're going to throw a $25 wager on Dalton Kincaid right now. I want to make sure that I'm in on this promotion. I want to make sure I'm in on this promotion, that I don't mess this bad boy up. Pre-game straight, anytime TD. That's for the jackpot. I screw this up all the time, guys, so I want to make sure I know how this works. Oh, just an anytime TV? Oh, it's an anytime TD. Okay, then let's change this up. Let's use our profit boost on Dalton Kincaid. I'm cool with that. We'll switch this up. $10. Bingo. All right, so this is how we're going to use our Dalton Kincaid first-time touchdown score profit boost. I'm in on that. I like that a lot. Okay. And then we just got to look for an anytime touchdown score. Well, then that's simple. That's an easier one. It's much easier. Apologies, guys. Welcome to the stream where I am all over the place. All over the place. Yeah, and the only thing I don't like about Waddle, typically Jalen Waddle, dude, I've never played in the NFL, so I don't know what it's like. But if I'm going to judge a dude, like, dude always gets hurt in a game. Like, he'll end up finishing the game, but he'll miss like 40% of the game and then come back. So I'd rather go with Kincaid there because it just doesn't feel like he's going to be out. Why is there no FanDuel odds right now? This is very kind of infuriating when it comes to this. All right, so we're just going to have to, again, go through one by one, anytime TDs. And see, we have Pinnacle, we have Circa's odds here, which I really like. HN, not a good price. And we're all about the price here, guys. That's really all that matters. Tyreek, not a good price. If I'm looking at And if you guys want to kind of stand out from everybody else, maybe we don't take the super popular guys like James Cook or Josh Allen. Where's Khalil Shakir? $245, not a good price. Josh Palmer, $277, $300, not a good price at all. Ray Davis, barely a good price, not great. Malik Washington, of course they don't have it. Don't like that. Ollie Gordon, Ty Johnson. Ollie Gordon is plus 550. That's kind of right in range. I'd rather bet this over at Ballybet. Westbrook Akine, no. Tanner Connor, like we're getting some bad ones right now. Like they're just not ideal. Julian Hill, no. Yeah, these kind of suck. Not going to lie. Anytime TD scores right now on FanDuel, not been very good. I've seen way more value early on this year over at DraftKings, which was opposite. Last year, DraftKings was the book that didn't provide anytime TD value. Elijah Moore, barely. We'll go with Elijah Moore, though, because this is kind of a long shot here, guys. We'll go with Elijah Moore, touchdown jackpot. This is where I'm just going to throw this on. How much will they let me wager? They'll let me wager whatever I want. All right, so this isn't all that good of a play, so I'm just going to put $10 on this one because it's not ideal. It's like an okay entry. It's not great, but that's where I'll go with Elijah Moore for my touchdown jackpot entry. The pricing is just not very good over at FanDuel. I'm not going to lie. We're getting this at what, $850? All right, cool. All right, so that's where we're at with that. All right, so let me see. Let me catch up with everybody else. Ooh, tough to hear that, Angie, about the Pick6 canceled your college football bets. That definitely stinks. What else we got? Yeah, Zach, I mean, we could easily lose. Sure, I agree with you. Josh Allen could be at 31, 32 yards, takes 2 or 3 knees, and we lose that, right? You can't ever forget about that. I don't worry so much. For me, Zach, and you bring up a great point. I would worry more about Josh Allen if you're betting his over or under on his rushing attempts, where the knee could really come into play. I feel that there's more of a variance with his yardage compared to rushing attempts. So what do I mean by that, guys, is like if you're betting on LeBron James over under on his rebounds, there's probably a higher likelihood that his final number on his rebounds, if the over under is at 7.5, will land at either 7 or 8, right? But on his LeBron James total points, if it's at 28.5, LeBron could easily be at 22 or 15 or 30 or 40. There's more variance with his points. So when I look at rushing and receiving yards with players in football, I feel that there's more variance when it comes to that particular market. But when you're looking at rushing attempts, that's where I think there's less variance because that player has a higher likelihood of landing on either side of the number wherever the line is set. That's just my takes on it. Fauci says people are sleeping on Miami for some reason. I think the Bills' defense is not at 100%. I mean, I will say this for Miami. It helps the fact that they're playing in Buffalo in September. So the weather conditions are going to be good. We talk about teams from the South going up north. If this is in December, I feel like the Bills have a huge advantage. The Dolphins have a chance here because of the fact that it's in September and temperatures in Buffalo today are probably going to be decent. 69 degrees, nice. The weather's going to be perfect today in Buffalo, so gives the Dolphins definitely more of a chance. 57% of you said that you were limited, which is interesting to note. Tomorrow, guys, or we'll just put this out right now. I'll put this out tonight on my Twitter poll, guys. We're going to do one stream tomorrow. I'm going to set a couple different times up. They're all going to be times in Eastern time zone. Whichever vote wins, that's when we'll stream tomorrow. But that's where we're going to kind of pause in the stream today. Nice to be back in the saddle again. Again, guys, for myself, for baseball, we're in the almost final week of the season. The Giants and the Dodgers have something to play for today. Some of these other teams have nothing to play for. Literally nothing other than evaluating young talent. Or maybe veterans trying to hit a contract milestone. So I have really backed off on betting baseball. I'll live bet some main lines with baseball, money line spreads, totals. I'm not really getting into too much player props. You can see that today, the only thing I bet was Logan Webb over on his strikeouts because the Giants are trying to fight for some type of wild card position. Otherwise, guys, I'm really cooling my jets on betting baseball other than live betting main markets. Twitch, man, I don't know when that's going to happen. I really don't try to stream on too many different multi-platforms because I try to make it intentional that you have to come to either Twitter or to YouTube. But appreciate you asking that, brother. I don't have a Twitch. I don't have one. So I make it intentional that you have to come to YouTube or to Twitter to watch me. So it's all part of a divine plan. Guys, enjoy the football. Enjoy the Thursday. Questions, email me, DM me. Otherwise, have a fantastic Thursday, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.